Testing one, two, three. Testing one, two, three. Hello there, Bravehearts, Urbanites, and Coach Mad Hatters, and welcome to July 1st. It's about 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and once again, I am finding the value in my impromptu opportunities to record a moment that leaves me in awe. So a few days ago, uh, my Numinous Astro deck and guidebook arrived. And so I have been taking the time to charge the cards, learn all of the content surrounding each card, and just become familiar and begin the courtship with the guidebook and all the lessons that are housed. While doing so earlier today, I was meditating on my Uncle Gilbert's published memories. For some reason, for the last 48 hours, my timing has been completely off. Um, and nothing has been in routine for like within the last 90 days. So my getting up between 4:30 and 5 a.m. and diligently sifting through my projects of research and development and just being highly engaged in my individuation process is all wacky. And I've been allowing it to just be what it is. Um, when it first started doing this, I wanted to be a little upset. Um, but then slowly but surely, not only through my intuitive hits, but also in several general readings or in conversation with some of the folks that I consider to be my master teachers, the message was consistent about me throwing out the rundown to allow for the moment to present to me what it's going to present to me and take value in that, and to remove from the rigidity of needing to stay specific to the game plan or the planner, the plan book, the game book. That new content and context was being written, was being rewritten in the moment. And so, slowly but surely, I've been taking um, value in this. With that being said, this morning I got the intuitive hit to visit with my great uncle. So he's my mom's uncle. So Uncle Gil wrote and published his memoirs. And before the audio of this segment begins to play, you will have glanced at a photo of the four cards from the Numinous Astro deck, as well as the front page that I was meditating on from Uncle Gil's Memories. And that's the title of the book, Memories. What was interesting about this, and as I've made mention in several recordings, most often when I want to charge the cards, I will just shuffle them mindlessly while I'm doing something else, mostly editing or meditating. And so while looking at the front page and just reading over it, these four cards fell out. And I'm still not exactly sure what the overall message is. But I also got the invitation, the intuitive invitation to record how I am feeling thus far And so here we are. So I'm going to read page 4, and something tells me that that's significant. The fact that it is on page 4, uh, the portion of the book that I was meditating on is on page 4. So those that will run across this, who are into numerology, I'm a novice of it, so I don't know right off the break, but I know that 4 is significant to me in certain cycles and seasons. And so I will continue to dive into that, but to record the moment, I'm making mention of this. So on page 4, it reads, and so let me say this real quick. So the day that I received my copy of this book was on April 21st, 2016, which happens to be my mom's birthday, which is my Uncle Gil's big sister. My mom's mom is my Uncle Gil's big sister on her birthday. At the time that I received this in 2016, they both had already transcended. So to get this hard copy in my hands at that time, um, was short of, not even short of, I'll say beyond miraculous, because it was during the time span that my mom was undergoing radiation for cancer in her throat. And I do not quote me or expect me to tell you the name of the type of cancer it was. Have no clue at the moment. That entire phase was such a daze for me. DAZE. It was a daze. I was in a daze during that time. Um, but my heart was hurting. It was heavy. It was very weighty with being on site with her every day, 5 days out of the 7, while she underwent this treacherous zapping of energy infusion. And it was just weird to me of how it seemed like the more and more she went, the less vitality she had upon leaving that place. So it almost seemed like like it was like an energy vampiric type of experience. And I know I'm dancing into my enchanted vocabulary, but that's what I can equate to it at this moment. Um, and I was also bummed out mainly because I had could continue to beg her to not undergo that alternative to deal with what it is that she was dealing with. But my mom, being over 80, she was very in tune to um, figuring that the medical hemisphere was something short of heaven. And so any and every practitioner with inside of conventional medicine were like gods to her. And so respecting her wishes, as me and all of my siblings did, we dealt with that. So me having my little pockets where I could tip into my own world and just regroup and recenter meant a lot to me. And Uncle Gil's book in that time cycle, in that timeline, uh, definitely was the key to a lot of those moments of emotional reconciliation. So on page 4 it says, the idea for writing this memoir occurred to me a few years ago. The notion was recently revived when I attended a family reunion and came across some sketchy information about the life of my parental grandfather, Michael Diggs. Equally, if not more inspiring for this memoir, are my immediate family, my late parents, John F. and Mary C. Diggs, my 6 deceased siblings, my brother Thomas, my three grandchildren, Kiara, her twin sisters, Alexandra and Danina, and their parents, Michael G. and Jacqueline D. Diggs, and my relatives, friends, and former coworkers. I immediately figure that the four cards that fell out has a lot to do with what it is that I have been tirelessly aiming to build. And that's the momentum of journaling and true expression and narrative. One of the things that hold true for me and seems to be withstanding the test of time is a conversation that I had with my dad a few years ago when he introduced to me the notion of our people not taking the painstaking strides to keep our own archives, to record and document our story by us for us, so that there can be some sort of vetted and validated official account of what we have to say about our existence. Because in this day and age, as from this moment as far back as the recording of time, all other cultural denominations have taken it up as their business to depict us in narrative and in story. They, and I'm not going to say often from the outside looking in, but on many occasions, what has been accepted as true with regards to me and mine, those that look like me, feel like me, those within the mind frame of mystic melanated folk, have not been the ones with the pen in their hand. And so from that moment until now, that has honestly been the lens by which I have situated my mission by being an intuitive coach and establishing the notions around Coach Mad Hattery, as well as stepping outside of my comfort zone to attempt to give presentation to all that I am patching together, which is slowly but surely formalizing itself into an official concept around Coach Mad Hattery and what it is like when one is journeying inside of its individuation process. And I have some supporting evidence around where I'm going with this, which I will link inside of the notes for this session so that you may too, for yourself, tap into um, all that is surrounding the incubation of this concept. So the four cards that fell out is Mercury, communication, Chiron, healing, Sextile, opportunity, Scorpio, the animal. And if you're familiar with the Numinous Astro deck, then I invite you to pull out your guidebook and walk with me through these four cards. If you are not familiar but you are curious, I also extend an invitation for you to get your hands on the deck and the card. Even more so, if you find yourself wanting to know more about astrology and your birth chart and how your existence is very much in conjunction with the energies as they are playing out now in this time and space, as well as the conjunction of what was going on before you got here that would signify why you're here. Because at the end of the day, the seeker, the seeker of existential valuing always wants to know the answers surrounding the question, why am I here? Why am I here at this time in this space around these folks doing this, that, or another? What's the point in all this? What's the purpose in all of this? Slowly but surely, I am coming into the knowledge that I am to be the tour guide for those that are serious about their courtship with thyself, learning and knowing thyself, as well as having the encouragement, affirmation, and the support to preserve all of that at some point in print, whether it is through one's journal or it actually makes its way into a more formalized format, to be in publishing or just what I am now liking to call soft publishing, where it's just for friends and family so that they may get to know you better. One of my more personal pet peeves that's now seemingly growing out of control is how we seem to stay in this conventional mindset around the activities once a loved one immediately transcends out of embodiment. When they leave this realm, when they leave their flesh of this realm, because I actually ascribe to the notion that just because one quote unquote dies from their embodiment does not necessarily mean that their soul automatically leaves this realm. So, yes, to simplify it, I am one that believes in ghosts. I believe that there are non physical entities that surround our time and space at any given moment to either carry out their own agenda or stand in conjunction with ours. And the more and more I began to tap into tarot as a first language, it is deeming me sensitive to a brand new vocabulary just inside of the messages brought forth by the cards. The more and more I meditate and take pride in being my teacher as well as my student, like simultaneously ebbing and flowing between the two. Some moments, and within the same day, some moments I am my student, and some moments I am my teacher. Adopting that approach has granted me a lens that I still have yet to put words to. It is beyond my amazement at some of the encounters I've had with certain content and context when it comes to my individual unique soul scholarship. And so often I use my Uncle Gil's book as if his memories in print is a specialized textbook for me to unlock and explore and expand, specifically in regards to my bloodline and the Legacy Foundation, the portion of the Legacy Foundation that I am responsible for. Because at the end of the day, each part of our legacy is like a quilted patchwork. And regardless of how big or how small your patch or collectivity of patchwork is, it feels like part of the purpose of our existence is to record and document our experiences, our encounters, our acquaintances, our revolutionary growth as an individual. So, card one is Mercury Communications, and inside the guidebook, it's on page 54. Now, the interesting thing about this deck and guidebook is that it is exclusively geared to help the querent. And the querent is a new word that I've been playing around with over the last 7 days, which means the one that's with inquiry, the one with the question, the one that is posing the question to receive the answers. And in this space, we are going to allow the answers to serve as keys that will unlock clarity and unlock the enlightenment that's used so that we may proceed further. And so the keywords surrounded around Mercury communication is connection, cleverness, wiring, methodology, symbols, storyline, commerce, coding, chameleon, alchemy, breath, pacing, levity, circulation, sociability, and nervous system. That's what's inside the book. Now, the words that are actually on the card is words, thoughts, analysis, information, learning, trade, ideas, smarts, reporting, awareness, vision, lens, pilot, perception, curiosity, narrative, muse, and wonder. And so I'll read the first paragraph of the Mercury section. Mercury calibrates the pace of our thinking. It is the light bulb moment that captures our attention, and the reporter writing the storylines that we use to color code our world. Our personal IT maintenance guide, as our personal IT maintenance guide. It is a ripple of electricity riding the airwaves with all devices fully charged. And so the zodiac signs that are associated with Mercury is Gemini and Virgo. It's associated with the tarot card, the Magician, and its orbit is 88 days. Now, right now, as I am recording this, Mercury is in retrograde. And I know that there is a conventional meaning around uh, retrograde motion. Um, and here lately, I've been urged to innovate how I view Mercury retrogrades and what it is that I will do during those moments. So, being of Virgo moon and Virgo ascending, meaning that my three dominant zodiacs and energy and planetary energy, or okay, let me slow down. Let me simplify that. Okay, so inside my birth chart, inside any birth chart, there are the three majors. Um, the three, your sun sign, your moon sign, and your ascending sign, that, in my opinion, is the divine trifecta, the tricycle of who you are, how you are. And then everything else is the components around your growth and your uniqueness and that which makes you you. So, my Virgo sign is in the placement the Virgo energy, which is is ruled by Mercury communications, is double for me because it's my moon sign as well as my ascending sign. So it popping up in this, which now I'm supposing is unfolding as an actual reading, but when it popped out at first, as I said, it was just me focusing on that small passage in the beginning of Uncle Gil's book. So now what it says to me is that I am to take special care during this retrograde with regards to my review. And that's how I've been looking at retrograde activity, as moments for me to slow down, step inside of solitude, and review, because there may have been some things that I have overlooked. And so this review, retreat, repair with regards to my communication, with regards to my thoughts and my words and my analysis and my learning, my ideas, is now. And as it links to the idea around why my Uncle Gil figured that he would publish his memories, is something that I need to be taking stock in as I formalize the baselines and fundamentals of my private practice around narratology and intuitive studies and Coach Mad Hattery and things like that, which segues most properly into the second card, which is Chiron and healing. So that is, Chiron is on page 65. And so I think I'll read the words on the card first. So Chiron healing. So it's healing powers, growth, amends, release, personal development, inherited issues, self-doubt, generational trauma, shame, sensitivity, forgiveness, superpowers, divinity, cleansing, softness, and pain. And even the way the cards are situated, and I decided to make it um, um, with them being um, the symbol of the four corners, mainly because that seems to be the theme around how I am viewing things these days. Um, Tapping into um, the notion of the stone that the builders rejected shall become the cornerstone of that which is valuable moving forward. So the significance around what has been rejected will become the cornerstone, or AKA, if we think in terms of pyramid, which is um, when thought of outside of mainstream shenanigans, signifies growth. It signifies the the inner evolution of one's awareness and the paradigm shifts one can acquire as it moves forward up the spine, up the chakra energies to tap into its crown area, to tap into its pineal, to marry those energies so that it may begin to have inner visions of that which is exclusively for them to view and then process and then output to share with others. So my Chiron is in Aries, which means all of my healing is surrounding around my authentic expressions, my ability to conjure up the courage to say how I feel when I am feeling it, regardless of any pushback, regardless of anything that may stand in the way of me wanting to be accepted or acknowledged, that I myself am to acknowledge it, and that shall be good enough. Because of this, I have been researching and developing the archetypal characteristics around Mars and Aries for a very long time. I've been in love with Mars for a very long time because it feels like there is a chief component within myself that is hidden inside of the powers of Mars and Aries that I must capture. And they always say that which you are most fearful of is that which you must face and look straight in the eyes, whether it accepts you or rejects you, that your power dwells in the facing of it. And so I'm always in awe with an Aries. It doesn't matter if it's male or female. I am always in this starstruck nature when I'm in the presence of an Aries, mainly because they are such a mystery to my healing. So they say those that you are around the most, you are able to channel their energy. So it strikes me odd that many still have yet to adopt the notion that you honestly could get healed just by being in the presence of some folks, just like you can become diseased just by being in the presence of some folks. Like the healing mechanisms around energy is still underrated in my opinion. So with me honestly um, pushing forward this thing called soul scholarship and knowing that the characteristics around someone inside of Mars or Aryan energy is almost like the golden key that unlocks my own healing. It's magical. So it doesn't strike me odd that this card would show up right now because I know that it's in conjunction with me having the momentum to continue to state how I truly feel, to stand in my truth, to unapologetically speak with regards to those truths and my healing and my challenges and the notion that I did not come inside this realm perfect. I literally came inside this realm broken and full of wounding, and that my encounters and my experiences all depending on how I process them and mutate them has all to do with what the story is going to look like during my moments of healing or leveling up or succession, etc., etc. And so Chiron on page 65. So the keywords inside the guidebook is allowing, tenderness, wound, salt water, karma, humanness, surrender, transcendence, tears. And I have no idea what this word is. I've never seen this word before. So it's Ablution. Ablution. What in the world? Okay, hold on. Render render me a moment to look this up. I gotta figure out what's going on. Okay. We learn something new every day, right? So we're gonna find out what's good. Let's see. Ablution. the act of washing one's often used for humorously formal effect. A ceremonial act of washing parts of the body or sacred containers. Okay. So then I can see how that's connected inside of the world of Chiron, seeing as that it's all about healing. And in conjunction with the purification intentions of energy as it may ebb and flow between healing and dis-ease. Okay, I can see. Okay, so the first paragraph in association with um, the Chiron summary is Chiron's status as the wounded healer conjures images of romantic heroines and meditative gateways on distant islands. But before we scent it with lavender and lay it on a bed of crystals, this planetary body's magic rests in abating with the tenderness, in abating with the tenderest, and touchiest parts of our humanness. Interesting. And so the signs that are associated with Chiron healing is Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. And the tarot cards, it's associated with the major arcana um, with karma and healing is Temperance, the Devil card, the Moon card, the Star card, and Judgment. Wow. Um, Chiron is in retrograde motion over half of the year, and there is no orbit. So I'm supposing, yeah, Chiron kind of does what it wants to do. So it almost seems like as if it's the healer that makes house calls. So all depending on where it's needed most. And this is just me talking off the top of the dome. None of this is in the book. I'm just kind of freestyling with thought right now. Interesting. Okay, and so the next card is Sextile, which is Opportunity, and that is on page 93. Now, sextile is in regard to the aspects of planetary alignment in conjunction with the uh, influences and infusions of the zodiac. And I plan to do. Let me just sidebar for a minute. I plan to do a an introduction to the numinous astro deck. Um, like I said, mainly because I am just amazed at the wealth of information that is impact in this small little package around those that are learning astrology and birth charts and the aspects and the alignments and how it all relates to one's individuation process. So be on the lookout for that, if you will. Uh, I can't really put a timeline on it because as I mentioned, I just received it. So I'm truly inside of a massive learning curve. Um, Rather excited though, because this is all of the stuff that I am naturally into. So to have a deck and a guidebook that is specifically around the astro compatibilities of human beings, I am, like I said, I'm at awe. I'm quite surprised that I'm even here doing a video now as I stumble through my words because I've had the deck and the book less than 48 hours. And I have to say, thanks to a lot of it already being on my radar, I am in tune with the meanings of most of what's in here. So it's mainly notion of just connecting dots. But even as we just witnessed, there are tons of new vocabulary as well. So um, I can't say that I'm going to wait until I'm completely comfortable with the information before I do the introduction, but I know I have just a little ways to go before I present that to the world. Okay, so on page 93, sextile opportunity. So on the card, it is collaborates, assist, explains, provide opportunity, synergizes, creates possibilities for, open doors, promises, brings insight to, communicates, welcomes, and develops. And so inside the guidebook, there are no characteristics. So we're just going to read the summary, the intro part of the summary. Sextiles are our star-kissed magic snowflakes. They represent our singular flair and soul signatures. That special touch that only we can give to this world. Like a flock of tropical butterflies, they often appear of their own accord, and we're called to race after them joyfully, without trying to pin them down. Sextiles describe planets in compatible signs of different elements, fire and air, water and earth, looking to each other to fuel their curious expansion. Similar to trines in their ease and lubrication, sextiles diverge in that we don't take them for granted. Sextiles diverge in that we don't take them for granted. Not sure why I read that. It didn't feel right. Okay. They are our sequined leotards and our jazz hands. We're dazzled by these gifts in ourselves and long to display them to others. Shake your sextiles like a snow globe and watch the tiny crystals combine in unexpectedly creative ways. Cultivate them, ask them questions. These aspects are the classes in school that actually lit you up and kept you burning the midnight genie oil. They are your personal choice. They are your personal choose your own adventure. Interesting. So, right now it's coming to mind that we are to be on the lookout for the sextiles, our opportunities when we are lit up with joy and curiosity and have the honor, I should say, in the unexpected, as they are rich in the boosts of creativity. We are to cultivate them, ask them questions, and that's a new angle. I am learning slowly but surely that when certain moments arrive and I am aware of certain possibilities, that I am actually to engage in conversation with it. And it taps in nicely with my daring to be in conversation with that which is non-human. So that's striking in such affirming ways for me right now. Okay, so the last card out is Scorpio, which is on page 39, the animal. Now immediately when I began to look at this card, it reminded me of my accepting the invitation to explore more around my spirit animals and the characteristics around the animals that resonate with me on a personal level. And so I may mention before that the Great Mother Dragon, as well as the Apex Black Panther, has been, as well as the Queen Bee, has been in my meditations. Like they show up and allow me to acknowledge their presence inside of certain meditations. Um, Definitely, as I am anchoring my intentions to protect me and mine, and when I am going through the motions to infuse my imagination um, to build force fields that mimic honeycombs. I have this thing for the honeycomb hideout. I've always had this thing for the honeycomb hideout. And if it resonates, just ponder on it, if you will. When you find yourself in your quiet spaces and you know that you are curious about the honeycomb hideout, what it would be like to be part of it, to be a constituent of it, to be a builder of it, an architect of it, to just be a guest of it. So the moment I saw this card, it reminded me to not lose sight of the powers linked to my animal spirits. And so on the card, Scorpio the animal, transformative, intense, passionate, secretive, carnal, thorough, obsessive, intimate, primal, lusty, deep, external, resourceful, mysterious, regenerative, compulsive, destructive, manipulative. The keywords inside of the guidebook is magnetic, incisive, psychic, relentless, strong, demanding, compelling, energetic, a force, resistant, occult, jealous, vindictive. Now remember, and I'm glad it came up like this because it gives me the opportunity to direct attention to that which is lightness and darkness. There is not an entity inside this realm that has one and not the other. Both sides come with the matters of fact inside the third dimension. You are not going to be fully 100% light being. You will have some darkness with you. If you decide to ignore it or repress it, you will stay depressed. And so I also believe that the more and more I am thinking about the presence of this card is to remind me of all that is situated around the planet Pluto and all that's going on inside of this time and space in conjunction with the energies of this heavy hitter. Pluto is a heavy hitter. It comes to transform. It arrives to transform. And it honestly will eat the bones of anything that stands in opposition because transformation is required. So when Pluto shows up, transformation is required. The fact that Pluto is in my first house, it keeps me from forgetting the necessity of transformation. And so the symbol of Scorpio is the phoenix. And the planets ruling is Pluto and Mars. And so the opening statements to the summary of, oh wow, look at there. Okay, so yes, the tarot card is death and the city is New Orleans. Anyone who's had a personal conversation with me within the last, I want to say within the last 6 months, know that I have been having this uncanny pull to return to Louisiana to tap into my granddad's, my dad's blood vibes. And I was in Louisiana quite a bit as a child, but have not returned. And it's been in the forefront of my things to do um, to return and tap into that and see uh, and become acquainted with that force that continues to call at me. Um, and it's interesting because I had not glanced at prior to. Wow. Okay. So let me keep going before I get sucked into that. But I am going to explore that association. Okay. Okay. So, welcome to the jungle, whispers Scorpio, with an unflinching gaze and and a sly, sexy smile. Switch on your headlight, switch on your headlamps, and prepare for a carnivorous trip to the underworld of human desire. The zodiac's Venus flytrap beckons us into flower flood. Blah, 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 sorry. The zodiac's Venus flytrap beckons us into flower food medicine as we sink our teeth into our shadowy parts. Learn to live with and love up on what we lust and long for, and surrender fully and furiously to the compost cycles of life, death, and life once again. Go harder, says Scorpio. Get obsessed and stalk your prey. Get down and dirty and let the rawest collisions with the parts you'd rather keep closest wash you clean. A life worth living is worth living down to the bone. And Scorpio snacks on the full throttle, hardcore elements of the human experience like no other beast. This is the sign of reckoning, paving the onyx path toward ultimate release. To forgive ourselves and others, we must first be willing to look the devil squarely in the eye, says Scorpio. Wow. I do not think I could have chose a better passage to explain the frightening yet necessary cycles of sitting with our shadows and facing the dark arts of ourselves. Because only through those passages, only through those rites of passage, will we honestly find that true, authentic expression of forgiveness. And it's amazing because I was pondering not too long ago what forgiveness actually felt like, what it looked like. Because we love to throw it around. It's either do the work, or it's either focus on you, or work on you, or it's either let it go, or it's either forgive. It's all of these catchphrases that love to hop, skip, and jump in and out of our conversations. But I be wondering if folks honestly know the practicality of it. Like, the what's the practice points of forgiveness? And trust me when I say it's all different. So look, before I really get on this soapbox, right? So I also learned a new term, tapping into my scholarship with the 40 servants, um, which is another oracle deck that I will be uh, speaking of hopefully before the year is out. I'm not sure when I'm going to have the delight to get my hands on that deck. Um, but so today I learned the term YMMV, which is your mileage may vary. YMMV, which is used to say that someone's experience may be different from that which is being described. So, um, I already know once that term solidifies itself inside of my vocabulary, I'm going to be using that quite often because your experience will vary. When I speak, I am speaking for me, exclusively for me. If you can get something out of it to help enrich and motivate and inspire and endorse yours, then I have done my due diligence in sharing. But by no means do I get up here to speak to you expecting your results to be the same, identical as mine. That's ludicrous. So, with that said, I am hoping that this session will serve you well. Um, and so entitling this the intermission to our um, keynotes to self series. I know it's still been, or not even it's still been, it is being. The gap is growing between parts two and three, but it's just so much going on energetically, figuratively, literally, emotionally, financially. Like, it's just so much stuff that is finding its way in my space, and I have to deal with it. I have to face it and reconcile it. And it's amazing because in part three, we're going to be talking about the Ten of Swords, which is at the bottom of the hourglass, if you're following in the series. And so I'm wondering if all of this Ten of Swords stuff is unfolding right now so that I may have present day content and context to share inside of that moment. But things are productively unfolding. I am happy to report. Am I being the wonder starling, handling everything to my satisfaction? Eh, oh, shit. But I'm still here. Like I am still treading my emotional waters, just staying diligent with being the student. I know I'm learning some things. I am not the master teacher regarding this thing called life. Like, I am still like surfing the waves of this fuckery. So yeah. I'm not gonna do it. I said I wasn't gonna do it. I'm not gonna do no soapboxing today. I just came to share this moment because it was so fantastical, and to say that if you can get your hands on this deck, especially like I said, especially if you are a student of astrology and you want to learn, even if it's just for yourself, the language and the context surrounding your birth chart, so you can have a better relationship with self. I urge you to tap into it, and it's on Amazon, so it's available. And maybe as we continue with the conversations, as the conversations divinely unfold, that we will become closer together within love language because we will have been spent time meditating inside the same realms of vocabulary. And it doesn't matter what conversations you're having, when, with who, When you have the same defining nature of certain things, certain catchphrases, when you speak in familiar terms, it helps fortify the connection. It helps endow the trust and the bond between those that are engaged in the conversation. Hence, the immaculate conversation. So yeah, I did it anyway, didn't I? All right. I'm a soapboxer. What you want from me? So I hope that this has been helpful. I once again thank you so much for spending time with me. And yeah, until next time, I wish you well.